B9 Creator was the original support system generation that I was introduced to. I used B9 Creator for probably half of the printer's early life. And it's also great because in B9, if I see that my supports in Asura had failed, I could come in here and add new supports on it. So, our support list, we've got custom tiny, light, medium, and heavy. One of the great things about this is we could change the shape to a nice, large collection of various types. Defaults are fine. They work very well. And when I'm doing very tiny miniatures, there is a lot of tiny supports on there. They succeed. So, given that this is going to get its first print, and oh look, I get my little white line. It's actually thinner than it was in Chitubox, which I'm more fond of the B9. Woof! Hello, Chungus. That's a big boy. Alright, let's modify this one. Select it, and make your modifications. I want that bottom to be smaller. There we go. I could change the thickness of the shaft, I could change the cone type, I could change all kinds of things. Including making that cone look a little bit less terrible. There we go. I know that Chitubox does this. I have not tested it in Asura, but it is a fun thing that I like to play around with if I need a little more distance on the support or a little more of whatever. It allows me to play at those numbers quickly, live. No matter how many supports are on there, I could have 30, 40 supports on there and it'll work. Back to the support tree. Now, if you go all the way to the bottom, there we go. Look at that. Transparent butt. So I'm going to go to medium supports, and I'm going to add one there and there. Cone looks nice and thick, and that's going to be a huge workhorse for our workload. As I mentioned before, my tendency of minimalism on the support plane means that I have learned that I can get away with this. However, there is one thing you want to keep a lookout for. Notice this right here. When the bottom of the contact point on the model is below the support end point, there is a potential of failure at the contact point. So, though I am certain this will print just fine, that error gives me a little warning bell inside my head that says I probably need to add something a little bit lower right in between just to make certain that these succeed. There we go. Now that endpoint is definitely below, just like the rest of them. Go to modify, bring it in. And there's our art sculpture of supports. I could add a couple of more in there to keep it symmetrical. Since there is no kill like overkill, let's go ahead and do it. Doesn't that look like it would just succeed? You've got a nice tree on the bottom with minimal peel force. It's a raft, technically. And once it gets past that raft, if it prints the raft just fine, you know the rest of it's going to succeed. And I can actually get rid of that raft completely if I wanted to by adjusting the diameter. But I think this is fine and it should succeed without issue. When you do a lot of supports, your raft gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And you can have fail points because the raft did not allow a release from the FEP. That is something to be cognizant of. So raft minimalism is another aspect that you have to be cognizant of. Asura is bad about raft minimalism. It makes gargantuan rafts that cover the entire scope from 1 to 2 points. and everything in between. So B9, that is why I like to play with it. It allows me to minimalize the raft and to keep thinking about it and work it through the thought process. And it's taught me how to make supports. Now this tree, that's going to be fun. This model is going to print, as I predict, with little to no problems. I think it's going to be great. Okay, so that's done, as we can see. In case you're wondering, B9 Creator has a mod that you can import to create a Moai base, because this base is not sized for the Moai. It's a lot smaller. I could have models in here a lot larger than it, and it'll be just fine. Again, that's another reason why I like to start in Mesh Mixer, because I know the dimensions and how and where it should be aligned. With this done, let's export it. File, export. Supports, B9. Now, if I were to make a comment on this, support minimalism at its finest. Some funky tree-like growth of supports. And millipede legs. Now, out of these, which one do you feel the most confident in printing? It's a mighty good question, isn't it? I'm pretty confident that all 3 of these will print. And it'll be a test, and that's a fun test to do. But I still gotta say, me personally, I just love the B9 supports. There is just something about them that I like the most. Seconded by the Asura supports, because when you get those, a brainless, monolithic number of supports generated automatically, and you just go in and fine-tune them. I've done that a lot. Chitu box on simple supports, or on simple models, Chitu box on complicated models? Between it and B9 Creator, it's kind of a toss-up for me. However, for your workflow, you may find that Chitu box being a one-stop shop just for you may be all that you need, and that's all you ever need to worry about, and more power to you, go right ahead. Between the 3 of these programs, you should be able to generate supports without question, without fail, pick up the faults of one to improve them, and make your life much less problematic. So if I were to say, if I needed to generate an extra support in any of this, it's kind of a toss-up. I want to do it to both Asura and Chitu box. So I'm going to go back to B9 Creator. Let's add our model. Asura first, because it is in alphabetical order. There it is. Beautiful blue. Let's go to the support tabs. Notice that how it is raised a little bit. And I'm thinking a little light line right here. Just to be cheeky. For some reason I think that'll help improve the quality of the print overall. Only one problem about moving the panning along on this one is it automatically adds a support when you do that. All right, let's modify these and clean them up a little bit. And B9 allows you to modify, so I could just boop, 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 add them, and boop, 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 modify them. So much simpler in B9. Okay, so here's a cute thing that you can do, is you can actually insist upon model collision on your supports. Just like that. In the same purpose, where you have those angled lines in the back here on the Asura model, you can force those intersections and collisions upon supports, improving the structural integrity and the rigidity of supports. That is why on the B9 Creator, when I generated the supports, I started bringing everything in together and started having them all touch. it creates a stronger, unified base that has fewer problems down the road. So this boy right here, I can actually double up on him. Yeah, let's make him the thick boy. Look at that. And let's get cute, because can. And let's make a cross beam right there. There we go. This will also create a moment where if one of these 4 supports fail, there is a high chance by the time it gets to the intersection, the supports will recover themselves. When you're doing a lot of little supports, that is something to be absolutely cognizant of. And if you do, and you do this, you will see at the base a support failed. It goes up, hits the intersection, recuperates, model printed successfully. You want that. So with this done, and in fact, I could take this and pull it out here. Yeah, look at that. Look at that bad boy. Sitting way out there. Way out there. Uh-oh, but that's a different problem. Let's go back to models. Change that Z height to 0. Bam! Right back to the build plate. And now, modify, please. Thank you. There we go. Let's modify the bottom on that one for a radius of 0. There we go. That's the fun thing about B9, is I could do all kinds of things like that. This is still modified in Chitubox, or I'm sorry, this is still modified in Asura initially. Because I also did it in B9, I make that note.